Dr. Sheila Patel at the Chopra Center. So Dr. Patel, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and who are you?
Sure. I am the medical director at the Chopra Center, and I'm a board-certified physician. I trained as an MD, so I trained in the conventional Western medical model. My parents come from India, so I have a background of the Vedic knowledge and philosophy and the spiritual traditions that come from that culture. But I was born in the United States and raised here, so I'm very much a mix of the East and West. And I knew from a fairly young age that my path was in healing some way. I was really drawn to people I saw on TV whose life was about service. So Mother Teresa, Gandhi, these were my archetypes, the people that I wanted to embody as far as their qualities. And I chose medicine as my path, or it chose me. It really unfolded quite easily. So the universe unfolded this path toward medicine for me. However, I did have my own challenges going into medicine. I realized that how I was taught to practice, although effective for some things, acute care, life-threatening illness, really didn't prepare me to get out into medicine and help people from prevent chronic illness, help people who had symptoms of discomfort and illness but no definable disease. So I wasn't given tools of how to help those people. So I left that style of practice and looked into other ways of healing and looked to some of the ancient traditions and how they helped people heal and stay healthy.
Right, it's a little more body-mind kind of.
Yes.
And do you remember when you first thought about what you were going to do, that moment that you knew in yourself, in your deepest part of you, that what you were going to be doing?
I think it was a series of events for me. I was really stirred inside. Now I realize it was that connection to that dharma, that service was really a major theme in my life, that I knew I needed to serve in some way. So that I remember as a young child feeling that stirring whenever I saw people who were serving others in the world in different capacities. I realized that was something that I wanted to do. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, and because I do enjoy learning and science, and I do like that part of the intellect, I started on a path toward educating myself about the human body, and things in some ways unfolded slowly, but I remember when I made the decision to go to medical school that I knew that was the path for me. I wasn't sure, again, how it would unfold and how it would help people with that knowledge, but I think that deep feeling of wanting to serve is what kept me on the direction. Because I think sometimes our mind can tell us this is the best way to do that, and this is how we need to do that, and we're really attached to how it's going to look at the end, as opposed to saying, my purpose is to serve and allow it to flow and unfold a little bit more effortlessly. So that's what I did, and it led me to what I'm doing now, which is amazing.
Amazing, yeah. That's what I call myself. I get myself out of my own way.
Yes.
Right. I was told that in meditation the other day. Just get out of your way.
Yes, I think we make too many decisions from our mind and not enough from our heart. So.
Right. And the soul heart, the body heart. Because the body heart has so much charges with pain from relationships or whatever happened.
Absolutely.
But the soul heart is just divine. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those where the true answers come.
Yeah, exactly. Would you talk a little bit about the three answers? Because that is pretty profound.
Yes, I feel as I've evolved in helping people, the model that the ancient Indian healing system of Ayurveda teaches is to incorporate all of the different aspects of who we are: body, mind, spirit. Body, we know we have a physical body that is made up of matter and molecules, and we need that body to move through the world and interact with each other. It's our vehicle, so we have to take care of that. And I was trained very well in the body and matter, and even medications address more of the physical body. And then I realized on my own that how much emotions play a role, and the mind and our interpretation of our life experience and the perceptions that we have and the conditioned ways of thinking and negative life experiences that perhaps we just stuff down, we don't process, and how the mind can affect our physical health. And also oftentimes anxiety, depression, just a general feeling of not being happy, those are imbalances in the mind layer. But most importantly, especially after coming to the Chopra Center, I realized how to integrate the spiritual well-being, or the spiritual component of our lives, and how important that is, meaning and purpose. You know, if people don't feel they have a purpose or meaning in life, then that affects the mind and then subsequently the body, of course. And I really realized how important that is. And meditation is a big part of connecting to that spiritual part of who we are, that part that's not our body, that's not our thoughts, that's there when our body is calm and still and our mind is quiet, then we're connecting to that spirit. And that's where all those true answers come from. And because we're connecting to something bigger than just our ego selves. And that's very, very important for health. So at the Chopra Center, we find a way to integrate all of those different components and bring in tools, practices, techniques, daily routine that includes all of those things. And that's why we see such transformation and healing. When you're just addressing one part and not addressing the other two, then oftentimes people feel stuck in their healing process.
It's amazing because this is kind of the way of life for me, my entire life. Simple food and, just whatever grows where I am. And I grew up in that matter and with nature, very connected. And of course, through the journey I got on and off disconnected. I came to the perfect health with a big issue. And I tell you, my life is back. I'm back to my meditations and everything opened up. It's fantastic. So important to have these three pieces together. It's crucial.
Yes, and often it's in ways we don't know are important until we address that. Then we realize how important that was. And we hear stories like that all the time after people come and are able to really immerse themselves in the healing of the body, the mind, and connecting to spirit, that amazing transformations occur. Things happen that would not otherwise have been imagined or planned, that open up doors for us, again, that we may not have been able to on our own.
It's just amazing because, through meditation and through Gandhi says, be the change that you want to see in the world. My whole house changed when I got back. The whole house changed.
Right.
They're all meditating. The food fully changed. Mm-hmm. It just because they saw that, wow, this is powerful what happened with her.
Yeah, and that's what we tell people, is to just start with yourself, because it's tempting when you start on a healing path, a spiritual path, that you just want to make everyone else around you change. But the best thing is to do the practices yourself, really work on yourself, and then not only does that energy flow from out of you and start to affect everyone around you, but they themselves will notice the changes. And we hear that a lot. People say they went home and just started meditating, and their friends or colleagues would say, what did you do? What have you been doing? You look amazing, and you don't get angry all the time, and whatever it is. And then that's the opportunity to tell people what you've been doing.
Amazing. And as a matter of fact, I have 4 people signed up for the next one. Yeah. When was the first time, did you have an occasion or something? Because I remember in the program you talked about something, the time that you felt the urge to make a difference, and your instinct stuck with it. You actually saved this woman's life and the child's life.
Many experiences I had in my medical career, I didn't know what was happening at the time, but looking back, I realized it was things that I didn't have words for. So I wasn't taught the language in conventional medical practice, or we really weren't even taught that your healing words make a difference. Saying soothing words or just a healing touch on somebody can make a difference. Those aren't typically things you learn in medical school. And I had been in situations in remote places where I've worked where we were in critical situations, and there was some time before we could get somebody to where they needed to be to address that more definitively. So in the meantime, all I had, we would support the patients, maybe give them a little bit of IV fluid or some gentle medication, and the body is resilient, so the body would do what it needed to do to get them to where they needed to be. And looking back on that, I think that's so amazing, because we weren't taught in medicine how the body can heal itself and all of these mechanisms we have to adapt to what's happening. And I think the best thing I have done in many situations was healing words, saying everything will be okay, it's all going to be okay. Say with my patient who was pregnant and in a difficult situation, we had to get her to a surgeon. She was very fearful. There was a lot of fear, and just bringing in that calm and those words of support got her and me through a difficult situation that I didn't predict would have turned out as well as it did. And so a lot of times our words can be very healing and help people.
You heard what she said, though. That is a really big one for me, because I didn't grow up with a medical system, in the jungle and all that. You go to the healer. So for me, it was a different thing. And moving into the States, bigger yet, right? Because in Chile, where I was born, actually, the doctors, they still go home to your house to do a house visit.
Right.
And they're really into listening. And you
Yes.
did listen to her. She was saying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die.
Right.
You heard that. But for most part, my experience is the listening is not there.
Exactly. And that's really, again, when I went into medicine, I did my board certification and residency in family medicine, because I really wanted to live in a community where I got to know my patients. I knew them throughout their lifespan. So early in my career, I trained myself to do all of it. I would deliver my patients' babies and take care of them when they were in the hospital. I took care of their parents and grandparents. I always lived in small communities. And then if they needed to go to a long-term care facility or nursing home, I would see them there, and really got to know people as a whole. And those types of physician-patient relationships, I think, offer people the best healing. You can go to the best hospital, the best this, the best that, but if that healing environment isn't there and that personal relationship isn't there, we see that all the time. People come and they're still not healed, even though they've seen the best person in the field. So
it is a bit of the feeling abandoned or not, because the mother always holds the child, and we come from there. The mother usually doesn't know nothing about medicine, but just by being there, you feel safe, that you offers that. What do you really, really, really want to do in this life, like we do in our meditation? What do I really, really want?
I really want. What I hear and when I ask that, what is my purpose? What is my dharma? Why am I here? How can I use my talents and abilities to serve others? I really come back again just to wanting to move more into service. And I've recently, at one time, I thought I might go and travel around the world and provide that service in a different way. I recently come to that acceptance of all of my life experiences. Sometimes we struggle, why am I doing this? Why did I have all these things? I should have done that. I should have done that. But I've really come to this acceptance that everything I've done up until this point is part of my journey. And taking that medical knowledge and using that to help serve others in the way that we're doing at the Chopra Center, teaching people about body, mind, spirit, teaching people to heal themselves, giving them the tools, that's really how I can be of the most service. So I just want to continue doing that and being of service as far as helping people learn that they can heal themselves.
Yeah. Would you be so kind to explain your point of view of gratitude? Because gratitude heals, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we talk about these sort of spiritual feelings or emotions: gratitude, loving kindness, compassion, empathy. And when we connect to those feelings inside of us, we're really connecting to that spiritual element of who we are. And we have a lot of studies now, and the Chopra Foundation has supported studies on gratitude, where just bringing in journaling, gratitude journaling, and writing down 3, 5, 10 things every day that you're grateful for completely shifts your physiology. And inflammatory markers go down. People's nervous system calms down, so their heart functioning is better. And I think it's interesting of all the organs, how the heart can be healed through just feeling grateful. And so I recommend gratitude journaling to everybody that I see as part of a daily practice. Just write down 3 things you're grateful for. And it also starts to shift the mind, the brain, because we're changing our thought patterns more toward gratitude rather than negative thoughts. We're activating the parts of our brain that are important in creativity, intuition, love, joy. We can actually see that with MRIs and different tests that we can do now, that gratitude is really healing, not just for ourselves, but for others.
Right, Dr. Emoto did with the water, with gratitude and love, and you can see it there physically. Because most people wants to see things, the proof.
Exactly.
And I always tell them, I said, did you see how that x-ray happened? By your inner side here in the photo. But you didn't see it happen.
Right. We don't always have to know
You
how
know?
things happen. We just know that they do.
You know, just trust, because trust
Right.
is just so close to divine, yeah?
Yeah.
It's just faith, right?
Right.
And how did you get to the Chopra Center?
It's an interesting path. I got to a point in my medical practice, although I loved helping my patients and I loved what I was doing, I realized I didn't have all the tools to help them heal, say, from chronic illness and these symptoms they had that I couldn't diagnose them with anything. So I decided I really needed to stop that style of practice and go on my own journey and start doing something more integrative, where starting to integrate, and this was about 8 to 10 years ago, starting to integrate some of this new knowledge we were finding about what true healing really is. So I left my practice. It was a difficult decision, went into this field of uncertainty, which we're all uncomfortable with. But again, you have to create that space for new things to happen. Otherwise, you'll still be doing the same thing over and over. So I moved to California, put out the intention. I just wanted to do something more integrative and explored a little bit different ways I could do that. But again, my mind was telling me, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And I started getting anxious when things weren't happening that way. So I just stepped back and said, I need to go back to my meditation. Again, as you had mentioned, I had been a meditator, fell out of the practice and yoga, got too busy to do all of those things. And so I reconnected to my yoga practice and my meditation and started coming to the Chopra Center more for myself, not intending that would turn into an opportunity. But that's exactly what happened. I was here at the right time in the right place, and an opportunity opened up. They needed somebody to join, and it really, the universe unfolded it for me just because I was starting to put attention on myself. I created the space, started going within, started planting intentions. I want to start moving in the direction of healing in a more integrative way, and the universe unfolded the path for me, so I didn't have to work too hard at it.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk, because I've been in your presence and you're amazing, and being in here with Deepak and all this group, because the place is just magnificent. The whole staff, everybody's just in service and kind, and it's just all across the board something that is an outstanding experience,
Yeah, the Chopra Center is a special place. I think
Yeah.
we have the opportunity to talk about these spiritual dimensions on a daily basis. We have Deepak's inspiration and vision, as well as David Simon, who was a co-founder here as well, and his vision of what we can provide people here at the Chopra Center, and everybody's really rooted in that vision. So we have that collective intention.
Yeah, the
and so,
consciousness of you guys are so aware. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And is there a way that you can talk to people about how they can incorporate the blend of the two different methods of health approach in between Eastern, Western method, and how can they incorporate the systems?
I think that's important, although we do have people that are on both ends of the spectrum. Some people only feel they want to pursue Western medicine and not think about all the other things out there. And also some people who reject anything that's modern medicine and don't want to access that. That's fine. I think what's best is what people feel will help them the most. However, I feel that blending the two and using any of the tools out there that we need to help us is the best approach. We have come up with some amazing procedures and potentially, again, life-saving medications when we need them. I feel Ayurveda gives us that foundation for when to bring in treatment, no matter what type of treatment that is, and when to, and how to stay healthy once we've created that health. There are situations we may need to rely on procedures or surgeries or different things that we don't want to just throw out. However, more than likely we won't need them as much when we're following the daily lifestyle that's on a day-to-day basis healing ourselves, our healthy thoughts, healthy sleep, healthy food, stress management, and doing things on a day-to-day basis that keep us healthy.
Yeah. It's so crucial. I learned that the hard way,
I think many people do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Can you please tell us about the Rest and Restore program and how people can benefit from being part of it?
Absolutely. We created the Rest and Restore program as a 3-day immersion to do just that, rest, which often we don't have enough of. I think so many people are so busy, so active, we're filling our lives with activity, but as just like nature, it functions with activity and rest, and we need to have that balance. So we talk about that. People come. We teach meditation. People have healing massage, which in Ayurveda, massage is treatment. It feels nurturing and amazing, but there's also some deep healing going on with each of those massages. We do yoga every day, meditate. And so it really allows people to take a break from their day-to-day crazy lives and connect to their bodies, connect to their senses, slow down enough to hear what the messages that the body's sending, because so often we're too busy and distracted that we don't hear the messages our body's trying to tell us until it's screaming at us and we're sick. So the Rest and Restore program is really designed as a rasayana, which in Ayurveda is the word for restoration and rejuvenation, rejuvenating the body. And although we do focus on detox and cleansing as well, because during especially our Perfect Health program, we talk about how we accumulate toxicity, emotional, physical toxicity, anything that's getting in the way of us healing, but we also have to bring in that restorative, rejuvenative aspect into our lives, because otherwise this is what people do. They do some sort of crazy cleanse, but they haven't change their life in any way, so they just keep accumulating it when they go back into their life. So it's important, that rest component.
And the perception, it changes too. My perception changed completely.
Exactly. And so much of our own stress that we create is based on our perceptions of our life experience and our interpretations of our life experience. So really just meditating every day spontaneously starts to shift that perception.
You can rewrite your story.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We write these stories that we
keep staying in the story, and we keep telling the same story, and we don't know why we're still in it. And so sometimes we have to shift that perception.
Yeah.
To and that includes what we talked about with gratitude,
right.
And looking at things. We need to accept that certain life events happen, work through those emotions. We may be angry, we may feel hurt, all of those things are valid, but then shifting the story, then start to focus on what was the lesson, what was the opportunity, what did I learn, and moving on.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you are in the now, that's what you call the present.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it takes that meditation
Yeah.
and really going within to be able to change that perception.
Right, because you feel connected to something. Everything is okay. Because when I go in that place, everything is fine. There's no sound, there's no color, there's no anything. It just is.
It just
and
is.
that incredible space, and it's just like a big high. I loved going there.
That's great.
And what can you recommend for people to follow for stress? You know, I get these kids and in any age, and they're so stressed out.
Yes,
you know?
yes. So definitely one thing is looking at what are the things that are creating more stress than necessary in our lives, and oftentimes it's our own choices. We've overextended ourselves. We've added one more project. We have agreed to one more activity that maybe we needed to say no to. But then just outside of that, life, is stress in the sense that we need to be in activity and our body goes into stress mode. It's not a bad thing, but we need to balance that with daily practices that help turn that stress switch off. So I tell people all the time, it's like a light switch. You turn your lights on during the day or in a dark room so that you can have activity. Then when you go to bed at night, you turn the switch off so that you aren't wasting energy. So it's the same with ourselves. All day long, we're busy, busy, busy. So I'm especially focused on the end of the day and what are people doing at the end of the day to turn that switch off. We wouldn't think about leaving the light switch on. So what are we doing to ourselves to turn off those stress responses in the body that are natural? They're there for a reason, but they stay on. So deep breathing is one of my very favorite tools for de-stressing and especially even letting go of emotions, because when we have something happen, somebody said something during the day, it gets stuck somewhere in the body, we're holding on to it. Doing some deep breathing is a very good way of circulating that energy, processing emotions, and just by deep breathing, there's a physiologic response that turns on the parasympathetic nervous system that calms us down, and it turns off that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight stress response. So breathing is such an easy thing to do all throughout the day, but also especially at the end of the day to turn your switch off.
Yeah, I remember, and you remind me of Andrew Wales, 478.
Right.
I used to use it a lot, and doing the different kinds of breathing, and that works for me immediately.
Immediately turns on the relaxation response in the body.
When we're thinking and we're in our head, I notice we don't breathe.
Exactly. And often what I notice, and I just start, it doesn't have to be complicated. There are many, many different breathing techniques, and I do feel there's benefit in the different yogic type styles of breathing, the pranayama. But I start by just teaching people some very simple breathing techniques with soft belly. So when I watch people, I'll say, just take a deep breath. They're breathing from the chest, which is a stress response, a stress breathing. And then we forget to tell the body how to breathe in a relaxation response. So when people inhale with relaxation breathing, the belly should be soft and it should expand. So inhale, and then I teach people soft belly, so their belly's actually coming out. And then when they exhale, slowly exhale and squeeze the belly in a little bit, so you're actually compressing the lungs. Then when you take a deep breath, you're expanding and compressing. So I start out with just soft belly breathing. Inhale, soft belly, exhale, squeeze the belly in a little bit. And after a while, once you start doing that, you just start to do it automatically. You sit down, okay, I'm going to do some relaxation breathing, and it just happens naturally.
And it works so well.
It's amazing.
Especially, I tell women, I say, because we all have so many issues with digestive systems, women especially, I said when you start working that diaphragm, it's really, really going to make a huge difference.
Exactly. And just doing that deep breathing, it calms down the system and it activates the vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system. And that controls the intestines and the digestion and all of those things that are happening internally in the body. So I often tell people at the end of the day, before dinner, meditation is great, but if you don't do your meditation, at least do some deep breathing, and that will help you digest your food. And then Also, just doing soft belly breathing as you're laying down going to bed, because then you're going into sleep in a relaxed state as opposed to sleep in the stress mode. And that's why people sometimes are waking up tired, because they didn't turn that switch off at night.
And the vagus nerves, it's gigantic. I've been a craniosacral practitioner for over 40 years. And I love doing that in the start of my career that I was doing. And that nerve, I mean, goes through all the teeth, through major organs. I mean, this guy rules.
Yes, it comes from the midbrain and goes down through the neck into the chest and into the organs of the body, and it really controls the entire parasympathetic nervous system. And the other thing we're finding with modern science is that vagus nerve is the main road of communication between the intestinal bacteria and our brain, and it's two ways. So the bacteria are communicating with us through the vagus nerve, and our mind and thoughts are communicating with the bacteria in our intestines, again, primarily through the vagus nerve and through our food, of course. Wow. We communicate with those healthy bacteria through what we're giving them to eat, but it's all connected. And so we're finding out how important those natural bacteria are for our general health. In fact, in Ayurveda, the digestion and the digestive tract was the most important factor in our health. Even emotional and physical health, they recognize that.
The same with Chinese medicine.
Yes.
You have healthy gut, healthy long life.
Yes.
Period.
Exactly. And many ancient healing traditions, I've talked to people who have studied all of the different ancient healing traditions in the world, and they all seem to come back to some basic general principles that they recognized thousands of years ago. And now we're starting to have a modern language to put behind it, but it was just as real even before we had the language for it.
Because when I moved here, I was blown away about the diet. I was blown away that people can walk and eat or drive and eat and eat very fast, because we used to eat in silence and slow.
Right.
And
so we teach people the mindful eating techniques. So sit down, look at your food, smell your food, because that actually starts to activate the digestive process. Pay attention to your taste, how the food tastes in your mouth. Chew your food, because when we're chewing our food properly, then it can be delivered to the rest of the body in the way that then they can do their job, absorbing the nutrients instead of getting food that's not completely chewed up and not being able to access those nutrients. So that's very, very important. And even in mindful eating, that includes thinking about where your food came from, whether it's plants or animals or whatever. How was it treated before it got to your plate? So again, really connecting to other aspects of food besides just the macronutrients and micronutrients in the food.
And I love to give thanks to the whole process and connect with what's going on. And something happens where your mouth is the first, really where the digestion really happens, really with all these enzymes and all such.
Exactly.
And something happens with the connection there with the brain too.
Absolutely, yes.
And I love what they do in India, that they use the 5 elements in their hands to eat like that.
Yes, yeah, even touching your food. I grew up eating food with my hands.
Right? Because it's so, it's so much going on in the hands, all the nerve system and all the brain and all these very
I think it really
connection.
Connects you to your food.
Yeah.
So I like that opportunity now when I have it, to eat Indian food with my hands. But yeah, it is, so many things are going on when we're eating, and again, bringing gratitude for your food and all of those things help with digestion as well.
So, it's something that people is always asking me, and I see it. I mean, this child, a very young girl, called me the other day, and she said, what can I do? She's got insomnia, and it seems to be like everybody.
Yeah, insomnia is like an epidemic, right? So it's almost everybody I ask has disruption, either falling asleep, staying asleep, or they're sleeping but they're not it's not restful sleeping. And then of course millions of prescriptions for sleep aids, which actually don't give us restful sleep. It might put us to sleep, but we're not having that restorative sleep like natural. So each individual case is different, so it's good sometimes to work with someone who can help. But in general, I think it's a combination of overstimulation. You know, there's too much stimulation, noise, electronics, thinking all the time, not enough time in nature. So all of the things that we're doing with our day is building up this stimulation, and that's what we're taking to bed with us. So again, that's why doing deep breathing, even doing a little bit of gentle yoga to get rid of that energy in the body is very helpful to help people sleep. Also doing journaling before sleep, just to dump out all the thoughts that are floating around in the head. Not to think about it, but just to dump. I call it dumping. Nice. So anything that you're thinking in your mind, just writing that down and then burning it or shredding it the next day, just getting rid of those thoughts, because thoughts are energy that we take to sleep with us. And then again, there are, depending on this individual situation, sometimes there are supplements, herbs that can be taken to help the body naturally fall asleep. So that's the advantage to using natural products. They're involving the inner ability to get ourselves to sleep rather than just, you know, like medication just knocking us out.
Yeah, I do. When I'm in that place, because I travel a lot and I get, you know, in big events and things. I do this meditation from Deepak at night with the breathing. It's a little baby in the cover of the meditation in YouTube, and I use that quite a bit. And something that struck me about Sadhguru, which I love because I think it's just very funny. He says, you know what, don't struggle with trying to put yourself to sleep. Right. He said, just resting until you go to sleep. You just rest and do your breathing.
Exactly, yeah. So sometimes the struggle is keeping us asleep, so we're thinking about the fact that we're not sleeping. And so, yeah, just even deep relaxation. So sometimes I'll guide people toward getting CDs or some of our guided meditations, whether it's Deepak or something else, that even putting us into a deeply relaxed state can be as healing as deep sleep until we fall asleep. Yeah, I do that quite a bit with them. And, you know, my people says to me, oh, you look so young, and I don't know, because I'm quantum, I'm never linear, so I don't know what I should look like. I really don't, and this is what it is. I'm like 68, you know, like it's what it is. But when they ask me what I do, and I say, you know, it's food. Always been for me. Yes, one of the most important things, what we're putting into the body. Again, our body is using those things to recreate itself. So when we give ourselves processed food and unnatural food and sugar and things that create inflammation in the body, that's what the body will do. When we're giving the body healing foods, primarily plants. We know a plant-based diet that's taking the whole plant, the whole food plant-based diet is what we're hearing with natural herbs and spices to help us digest those foods. It's the combination of foods that we put in that, again, really is helping the body self-regulate and do what it knows how to do. So I recommend people, definitely, we always look at their diet and try to get people to eat less processed, less sugary foods, less refined carbs, and more of the natural food. Again, we tell sometimes, eat the way your grandmothers ate or your great-grandmothers, and if they don't recognize what you're eating, it's probably not good for you. Right, if you cannot read the name of it. Yes, you know. We've really ruined food. How important, and this is something that, you know, it's huge. Because I worked in the film business for almost 50 years, and I have met just about everybody there. I don't know whatever the story was. I never really identified with it. But how important is it, do you think, Dr. Patel, to love your body? Because most people don't. Exactly. That's one of the biggest negative messages we replay over and over. We're not happy with our bodies or happy with how we are. So that's very, very important. I think we all struggle with that. What really helped me was coming from the Ayurvedic perspective, because I struggled against weight and all those things for so much of my life. In Ayurveda, there's 3 different mind-body types, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and understanding what that means, that we all have our natural state of being, and that's what we're bringing into the world. And all of the different mind-body types have qualities that are natural, that when in balance, we can bring that into the world in a very positive way. And being a kapha, having more earth and water, more in my physiology, I'm not naturally lean and thin, say like a vata, or muscular like a pitta. When I realized that, it really shifted my perception of what, my body. It completely changed my struggles. So I realized that I am a kapha, and this is a healthy kapha body, and that's a wonderful thing. So loving that nurturing, calm quality of kapha, and that it will express itself physically as well, I just learned to love that about myself. And that was a huge, huge thing. And so I find when people learn about their doshas, their individual mind-body types, and why their mind and body both are the way they are, they learn to embrace that and honor it. It's really about honoring who you are and accepting that that's your nature, and it's a wonderful thing.
The harmony, in between, and I actually helped me tremendously. And I'm just very grateful that, the fact that your body's working all the time, you think you go to sleep, but it's a heart that is going.
Right.
Things that keep going, and I have made children with this body.
Right.
How
the body's
amazing.
An amazing thing, and I think that's another thing we can be grateful for. At the end of the day, even shifting the negative thoughts. Often, you can't tell yourself not to have a negative thought, because then you have it. So what I tell people is shift your thoughts to positive thoughts. So even whenever you notice a negative thought comes in about yourself, make the choice to shift to a positive thought about yourself. And even writing at the end of the night, sometimes once you've dumped, I tell people to, even in their gratitude, I'm grateful for, right. And then write something good about yourself, something positive about yourself. And then that's what your internal language will become.
Yeah, it's a contrast. I use the negative as a contrast.
Yes. Exactly.
So as soon as that, I just see the gift again, right?
Exactly. And it's, we don't have to be mad at our negative thoughts, but again, like as you said, think of it as a message. When the negative thought is coming in, that's an opportunity to say what's the opposite, what's the positive thought that I can bring in, and then that's where we'll again start to come from that space more and more. You don't want to struggle against your thoughts. You want to accept them, but then make the choice to shift it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the choice, right?
Exactly.
And I think we talk about how we can nurture the healing through our sensory connections.
With the senses, we can immediately bring ourselves into the present moment. So sometimes even when people are having a hard time focusing on meditation or what have you, I tell them, okay, just sit down and just bring attention to your senses. So what is in your environment? Look at what's coming in through the eyes. What sounds are you hearing? Smells, touch. So feeling yourself standing on the ground or seated in your chair, and that immediately takes you out of your thoughts and into your body. So just putting attention on your senses, and also being aware of what's coming in throughout the day. Again, the overstimulation of the senses creates more agitation in the body. So sometimes silence is the best healer. So I tell people, are you always turning on the music? Are you always turning on the TV just out of habit? Consider changing that and just having some silence, and your body can then process all of that sensory stimulation that's coming in.
Yeah. That night I see people that go to sleep with the TV on.
Yes.
Or they're watching these really big, horrific shows right before they go to sleep. I'm like...
And again, oftentimes people say, well, it helps me fall asleep. And maybe you're falling asleep, but it's probably not restful sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, the subconscious mind is on board mode.
And if people are waking up and they feel rested and they feel great, then okay. But, you just have to be aware when you start to not feel well. Could it be that, do I need to turn the TV off at night? And oftentimes that's the case.
Yeah, and one question, that a friend of mine asked me to ask, she's so funny, she's a yogi. She said, well, I have terrible allergies when spring comes. How do the Ayurvedic system addresses allergies?
So in Ayurveda, there are many, many different treatments that are gentle and, again, utilizing the body's natural healing processes. So with allergies, say, which can be any time of year in different climates, it's really what we're breathing in. So when it's environmental allergies, we're breathing things in. It's creating a reaction often because we're stressed and our immune system is overactive. We start to create reactions to things that we might not otherwise. So it looks like allergies. We start to secrete mucus and build up inflammation. So a really healthy practice to do on a daily basis, but especially when you first start noticing symptoms, is the neti pot. So that's saline water gently flowing through the nasal passage. So number one, you're rinsing out the allergens that are getting into the respiratory tract, but also when it's the right proper solution of salinity or salt and water, then it's actually going to pull out excess fluid from the tissue. So when you're congested, it's one of the best things you can do. It also, if it's dry, will moisturize the tissue. So again, it's the body, as it does with herbs sometimes, doing what it needs to do with that. And so you don't have to tell the body. You just give it something that's healing and it'll do what it needs to do. So it can dry out dry nasal passages. It can decongest boggy, heavy nasal passages. And then afterwards, putting some healthy oil into the nasal tract can actually protect the tissue from all of the allergens that you're breathing in all day. So in Ayurveda, we recommend after that neti to put in some healthy oil, and then you move on into the environment. Yeah. So doing that first thing in the morning or in the evening at the end of the day, because then that's when you've breathed in all these things all day long.
Yeah, I love that practice on my own switching.
Yes.
Can you recommend ways for our viewers to stay in harmony with themselves and the modern fast life and stay centered and aware in the moment?
Yes, I think, definitely having a daily routine of meditation, a little bit of yoga, deep breathing, that's the core.
The core. And
then aligning yourself with your natural cycles. What is the body wanting to do at different times of the day? So eating your biggest meal in the lunchtime, eating a little bit lighter at dinner helps you fall asleep and you feel better and lighter in the morning. Going to bed at the right time, so between 10 and 10:30 we should be asleep, because that's when the body wants to start detoxifying, healing. There's a lot of healing going on, processing our emotions later in the night through dreams, etc. So aligning ourselves with that circadian rhythm or the daily rhythm, waking up at a certain time. And when we do that, when we just do things in the proper time, typically the day flows more efficiently. You get everything done that you need to get done, and more sometimes, and you feel balanced and centered. So those aligning yourself with your daily rhythms is very important. And that includes, again, with the seasons. Sometimes you have to adjust to the seasons. Again, activity and rest and all of that balance. And people feel better and they can do more, do more good when you're doing the right things at the right times.
The thing is, too, that then we are in harmony, right? We are in sync.
Yeah, we feel connected more to nature as well when we're doing that, because we are nature. We're part of nature like everything else. And when we're aligning ourselves with our natural cycles, we feel more in connection with everything else around us. And that gives us a life energy and a vital energy in and of itself. And periodic cleansing is a good idea, periodically, because even if people who are making good choices, they're eating healthy, they're exercising, they're meditating, we are part of a bigger collective environment. So in Ayurveda, the environment is our extended body. I love that concept. It's when I started learning Ayurveda, I thought, well, it's a beautiful concept to think that our body doesn't just end here, that the environment is actually our extended body. So we do accumulate toxicity because, as we know, there are toxins in our environment. So periodically, even if you feel well in general, to take a step back, do some healthy fiber, oil, herbs, meditate, pumping up on your meditation and yoga practice if it's fallen away, journaling, spending time in nature and silence. Then we reset, we eliminate what's not serving us that may have accumulated, and bringing in light, easy to digest, nourishing foods. The body heals itself, and then you move on.
I highly, highly recommend the cleansing system here. So I have done many, and it was such a crisis. This was gentle, amazing,
Yes.
gave me sustained energy.
Yes, that's what I love about Ayurveda. It's very gentle. It's not forcing the body to do anything. It's just supportive and using the body's natural detoxification in every way, that then you can do it gently and feel amazing. And we've also done studies of our Perfect Health program, and we know in a matter of 6 days, a lot of physiologic changes are happening, healing. We're resetting the natural bacteria in the skin, intestines, everywhere. We're reducing inflammation in the body, which is a root cause of chronic illness, for almost all chronic illness. We are healing the intestines, and so many things are happening, and we're some of those studies will start to be published in the next year or so.
I think I will be testimony of it, because my life changed, and I saw the group, and some of them way polluted, some of them full meat eaters, and they were like, you know what, I can never eat meat again. They felt so good,
Right.
because they were sustained by something that is a lot
Exactly.
long-lasting and more grounded, and so,
And more healing.
yeah, and a total well-being, because we don't realize that we well-doers.
Right. And sometimes it's just, again, the slowing down. I know, again, in our studies we did show that even just, say, coming here to a retreat and resting and going on vacation, there's some benefit there. But there's even more benefit when you're doing all of these other practices. So it's not just the rest and relaxation. Sometimes people think, oh yes, you come, you relax, and of course there's decreased stress response. But from what some of the other studies we've done, we've shown that it's even more dramatic than even just a relaxation response. And also it's more sustained. So when we go 2 months, 3 months out, for people that continue these lifestyle practices, they continue to feel better, whereas other people don't.
It's huge.
It's shifting your lifestyle.
Huge. Yeah. And if you have to choose one word to summarize what you wish the planet's future to be, what would that be?
One word that comes to me that I would really love to see in the world is peace. Mm. Peace and love and kindness, and living together in harmony.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Doctor, and namaste to you. Thank you so much for being in your presence. I'm very proud.
Thank you.
That I brought myself somehow here to you.